Greetings, fellow songwriters and seekers. Welcome back to Muse and Measure. If you haven't done so yet, please take a moment, click that subscribe button down below. I apologize for wearing this hat. I'm having a horrible hair day, and I didn't want to frighten you all with what's going on underneath this hat. But I'm happy to wear this hat. It helps me fit in with certain demographics of the population. But I got this hat in Hungry Horse, Montana, where I had the best piece of huckleberry pie of my life. Actually, the only piece of huckleberry pie I've had in my life, but it was really good, and I loved this hat, so I got it. Anyways, today's about motifs again. So we've been talking a lot about how to use motifs, these little, tiny little ideas, the building blocks of melody, to come up with something new. Now, obviously, you don't do this when you have inspiration and something pops in your head. You don't need to be coming up with little motifs, but you can use it to analyze your songs. Maybe some little part doesn't work. Well, you could say, well, that little idea there, that motif is syncing my melody. I'm going to get rid of it and replace it with something else. But most of the time, this is when you are writing from scratch, and maybe you just want to do motivic writing as an exercise just to learn from the masters and the greats. So the other way to do that is to analyze melodies that you really like, that you think are great melodies. So you can find out what they're doing, pick them apart, and then use those tricks and ideas in your own melodies. So I thought I'd show you how to do a motivic analysis really quick. It's actually quite simple. You can do it with sheet music, or you can just do it with your own ears, because really what you're listening for in motivic analysis is difference. So this idea happened. Then another idea happens. Well, is this other idea completely different, a brand new idea? Or is it similar to this idea, almost identical, but maybe slightly different? Some kind of variation of that motif? So the way you do motivic analysis is you use the letters of the alphabet. So the first idea that comes along is going to be called letter A. And then when a brand new idea comes along, that's B, then another idea, C. So you just go through the alphabet. Now when you have a slight variation of a motif, let's say this is A, and then the next idea comes along and it's almost exactly the same, but it's slightly varied, that would become A1. So you can use the numerical system to say this is the same idea but slightly varied. Now what do I mean by that? We've been using Beethoven's Fifth. It's a classic example. That's motif A. Well, it's different, but it's almost identical. It's the same rhythm. Da 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 da. What has changed? We've moved down a half step. There's motif A. Next motif. So it wouldn't be accurate to call that next one B because it's basically identical, but it's just slightly altered. It's a sequence. We talked about that in the last video. A sequence is where you take the same idea, you just take it up or down the scale. You just change the notes, and it basically has the same shape. Sometimes you have to move the intervals slightly to fit the key, but it's basically using the same intervals. So that's what's happening with this Beethoven's Fifth. So this would be A1, and this would be A, and then this would be A1. So the original idea gets the letter, and then if it's some variation of that idea, you use the numerical value. And then A1, A2, as many variations there are. And Beethoven has a lot of them. He goes A, back to A, that would be A2, A3. So that's how you do motivic analysis. Let's do it with another melody, though. Last night I was asked to sing What a Wonderful World, and so that song's in my head. I love Louis Armstrong. He's one of my great heroes. Of course, he should be every musician's hero. He did so much for music and really codified all the brilliance of American music in the form of jazz. And really innovated it in so many different ways. Not only jazz trumpet playing and instrumental music, but singing as well. Just one of the great innovators that, without his influence and without his strides that he made, American music would be a totally different thing now. What a Wonderful World was a big hit that he had. I think he was in his 60s when this became a huge hit, which goes to show you that even people that are in their older years can have big hits. And I think it's just a great melody. He didn't write it, of course, but he interpreted it, and it's hard to imagine this song without Louis Armstrong's voice, so he really made it his own. So let's take a look at the melody. Of course, he sang it slightly different than the written melody, but here's the first thing that's played. Of course, he did it. Either way. So we call that the first motif. That's the first idea. So this will be motif A. Now, you know it's a new idea and not just a continuation. Motifs can be very, very long, or they can be very, very short, or they can be medium long, medium short. There's no really rule about how long a motif is, but you can kind of tell when there's a break, because the singer will pause, they'll take a breath, the instrumentalist will pause. You know, if they're a woodwind, they'll take a breath. You'll be able to hear a slight pause in the music. And here we have a long note. So sometimes it's a long note that signifies the end of an idea, or there's an actual rest in the music. This one is just a long note. So that's motif A, and we get this. So even if we didn't have the sheet music, I think we could hear that's something different. Is it a variation on the first motif? No, it's something completely different. So we'll call this motif B. Okay. And then let's go into the next idea. Now that sounds a lot like motif B, but as we can see in the sheet music, it's been lowered down. It looks like it's been lowered down a third, meaning 3 notes lower. So it started out with D to C, and this is B flat to A. So that's a major third down. So since it is the same exact rhythm and the intervals have just been changed, that's going to be B1. So far we have motif A, motif B, B1. Now listen what happens. Next idea. It's the same as B and B1, it's just been lowered down. In this case, it's been lowered down a third again. So what we have here is a sequence. Sequence, if you recall, is the same motif or the same motivic idea. The rhythm is the same, or maybe there's something with the intervals that are the same. It's just been lowered or raised along the scale line. So right here we have a nice sequence. So, A, B, B1, B2. And then we have, and I think to myself, that's a brand new idea. That's not similar to any of the other ones. So you guessed it, it's the letter C. And then we have, once again, a brand new idea. So that would be letter D. So just to recap, motif A, motif B, B1, B2, yep, to be or not to be. And then a brand new motif, motif C, and then motif D. So what do we learn from this? We learn that there's a repetition of an idea. So we can use this in our own songwriting. We can, once we come up with a little motivic idea, we can try repeating it. You can repeat it verbatim, exactly the same, or you can try a sequence where, okay, I'm going to take this same idea, lower it a step, or in this case, lower it a third. You could lower it a fourth or lower it a fifth. You can do all kinds of things to experiment until you find something that works and sounds good. And then this one has plenty of variations. So there's lots of repetition. There's that whole sequence where you have B, B1, B2, but then there's A, C, and D also. So there's, really 4 different motivic ideas in this. And, the middle one, the B one, is just repeated in a sequence. So that even though you have a lot of variation here, because there's that repetition, it gives the listener something to latch onto. And the rhythm repetition is enough for them to latch onto it, so they feel like it's a continuation. We've talked about inevitable melodies. So taking this idea and watching it grow, that's exactly what it says in the lyrics too. I see children's faces, I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than I'll ever know. So it even mirrors the lyrics. And that's really good songwriting, when what you're doing with the motifs is actually reflected in the lyrics, and you're keeping your awareness of what's going on in the lyrics and having that be reflected in what's going on in the music. So that's very, very good songwriting. Seeing a motif, a little idea like the little baby, and seeing it grow and alter and change over time. So that's very, very cool. So that's how you do a motivic analysis. You can either do it with sheet music, or you can just do it with your ears. You hit play, you listen to the melody. Remember, you're not focusing on the lyrics. This is not lyrical content. This is just the notes and the rhythms of the melody, because that's something you can easily get distracted by. So this is how you do it. You do use the letters of the alphabet. Remember, if it's the same rhythmic idea or very, very similar but altered slightly, you use the little numbers, A1, A2, A3, and so forth. Well, good luck with this. Try it out and just maybe pick one of your favorite melodies and see what's going on with it. You're kind of going to unlock a lot of the secrets. And then next time you do a songwriting session where you don't already have ideas that you're working with, and you want to start from scratch, try creating a motif. Try using a sequence where you just alter it slightly and piece it together and see if you can come up with a really pleasing melody. All right? Well, best of luck with that, and best of luck with your spiritual practice as well. I'll see you next time on Muse and Measure.